It's been almost 20 years since the release of Final Fantasy X, but the game has never left gamers' hearts. Just this year, Final Fantasy X was voted the greatest Final Fantasy title of all time in Japan. Players often reminisce about the last true turn-based Final Fantasy. They love the turn of the millennium, jump-through-time narrative, and still fawn over the amazing musical contributions of Hamauzu and Uematsu. On the eve of the 20th anniversary of this greatness, let's take a look back to realize Final Fantasy X was woke AF. From interviews about the game, it is known that Final Fantasy X was conceptualized as an Eastern Final Fantasy. With this in mind, many have taken some of the themes in the game to reflect an East versus West dynamic. However, it might be more appropriate to look within Japan to understand the context of the geopolitical, class, and racial themes present in the game. Most clearly, the religious and political divisions between the institutions of Bevelle and Spear's people mirrors the real-world relationship between the Japanese government and the Ryukyu kingdom and Ainu peoples. The Ryukyu and Ainu peoples are indigenous to Japan. The Ryukyu kingdom's domain is what we now know as Okinawa, and the Ainu's lands are what we know as Hokkaido. Both of these peoples were ultimately subjugated by Japan at the beginning of the Meiji Restoration in 1868. Besides character names and costumes, which are known to be based on Ainu and Ryukyu culture loosely, there is one unveiled example, which shows that Final Fantasy X storyline's appropriation of indigenous culture is more than simply superficial. Yomika's sub-racist appeasement policy. This policy sought to convert all Ranso and Guado in Spear to Yevon. This mirrors the real-life Hokkaido Former Aborigines Act of 1899, which sought to formalize the seizure of land, forbidding of the Ainu language, and force the adoption of Japanese religion by Ainu. The fading away of Yomika after the defeat of Unalesca is seemingly symbolic of the expiration of old practices and prejudices on Spear's people. This also mirrors real life, as in 1997, almost 100 years after the government sanctioned forced assimilation of the Ainu, a new philosophy for Ainu relations was born. The 1899 Act was abolished, and in its place, the law for the promotion of the Ainu culture and for the dissemination and advocacy for the traditions of the Ainu and the Ainu culture was established. In the time since Final Fantasy X was released, the struggle for Ainu and Ryukyu has continued. However, in 2019, the Ainu were finally recognized by the Japanese government as the indigenous people of Japan. And that's one of the reasons why Final Fantasy X was woke AF. To find out more about Ryukyu and Ainu culture, visit the links below.